Hi, my name is Gabriel and welcome to Full Stacking with Gabriel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Visual Studio Online, also known as TFS Online, to create your source code repository. In this video, I will show you how to subdivide your repository into additional directories for more effective version management. Thereafter, I'm going to show you how to make use of powerful features like branching and merging. If you want to follow me along with this video, you will need a Visual Studio Online account and Visual Studio Community Edition or better installed. In this video, I'm going to use Visual Studio 2017, but you can use anything from Visual Studio 2013 and upwards. Let's get started. Firstly, in Visual Studio Online, I'm going to create my project repository. I'm going to name my project repository my awesome website. I'll add some description. For my version control, I will choose Team Foundation, and for my work item process, I will select Scrum. I'll click on Create, and Visual Studio Online will take a couple of seconds to create my repository. All right, my repository is now created. Let me just quickly navigate through the repository to make sure that everything is in order. So here I can see I have my repository. There's no folders and files inside of it, except for my build process templates. Yep, everything looks in order. Now we can switch back to Visual Studio locally in order to get the latest repository from Visual Studio Online. All right, so I'm going to open up Visual Studio. And then I'm going to go to Team, Manage Connections, and wait for the Team Explorer to open up. Then I'm going to click on Connect. At this point, you will need to create a connection to Team Foundation or Visual Studio Online. If you haven't done so yet, do that first. I have already created mine, so I can see the repositories inside my profile. So I'm going to go and select my awesome website. If you have any other repositories inside your profile, they'll all display here. It doesn't really matter at this point which one you select, because Visual Studio is just going to go and create the connection to your profile. Once that is established, you can click on Source Control Explorer, and you will see in the Explorer, you will see all your repositories that you have created. The first thing you want to do right here is you want to create a centralized workspace for all your repositories. So click on the root item, click on Not Mapped, and navigate to where you want to save all your application source code. So I'm going to go and create my new folder and select it. I'm going to keep recursive as selected and click on Map. Now at this particular point, if you have more than one project repository, Visual Studio is going to ask you if it needs to download all the source code for each one of them. Now, you don't want to do that because it will take some time, and maybe you only want to work on one specific project right now, so it will not be of any use to you to create or to download the other source code files right now. So I'm going to go and select No. I don't want to create I don't want to download the source code. And then I'm going to go and right click on my repository and select Get Latest Version. At this point, Visual Studio is going to create a sub workspace for me in this location. And if I click on this URL or hyperlink, it's going to open up that location for me inside File Explorer. All right. Now, after everything is set up for us, we want to go and create our application source or application template. So what you need to do first is create a main folder. Now you can go and create your source code into the root of your in the root of your repository, but that will prevent you from flexibility later on. So for best practice, go and create a main folder inside your repository and put your source code into that folder for right now. So I'm going to go and select now new project. I'm going to browse to my main folder directory. Select that. I'm going to name my application and I'm going to leave these checkboxes as selected for right now. So essentially I want a subdirectory to be created for my solution, and also I want to go and add my source code files into source control. So I'm going to go and click on OK. I'm going to leave these settings as default and give Visual Studio a couple of seconds to create my new project from the template I have selected. All right, now that my application is created, I'm going to execute it and just make sure that everything is in order. So now Visual Studio is compiling my application, and once compiled, it's going to try and open up the application inside Chrome. Perfect. My application is now created, and if I, well, it's loaded, and if I click on the navigation items inside the application, it seems that everything is working properly. Great, so I'm going to stop the application now. I'm going to close this tab, and I am just going to make sure that everything looks right. Yep. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of plus icons next to each one of my items and folders. And essentially what that means is that the files and folders are marked to be checked in. So Visual Studio have added them into my local workspace. The local workspace is aware of them, and now they just need to be checked in into my central repository. So that is what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to click on my main folder and I'm going to click on check in pending changes. I'm going to put a comment in here, initial code, and click check in. All right, so that's all done, and my code is now checked in into Visual Studio Online or into my TFS Online profile. Okay, so I just quickly want to close this and explain to you a scenario. Now the scenario is that my application is completely developed. My end users have tested my application and they are very happy with the application. But now they want me to deploy it to production. So what I have seen so many times in the real world is that developers will go and they will take the application, I click on this on the folder of the source code, and they will go and create a backup or some form of backup. In this case, it's a zip file, or they will go and just copy and paste it somewhere else, and they will call this version 1, and they will give this to the deployment engineers to deploy the application. Now, there are many ways to deploy the application, but just to illustrate, this is what's happening. So the next time they have to deploy another version, they go and do exactly the same. Now you can see this is going to be messy. This is going to create so many headaches after a while, and the problem is that this at some point the hard drive is going to become full, or something's going to go wrong, and the developers will need to go and roll back to a previous version of the application in order to fix a bug, or to make a change, or just to do something with the previous version. And if they follow this route, they're kind of heading for a disaster sometime in the future. So whatever this is, we don't do this. This is bad practice, and it's a very bad habit to get into. So let's delete this. We don't want to be associated with doing that. So what we'll do is we're going to make use of features like branching and merging, which is already part of our Visual Studio online feature stack. And essentially what that does, it allows us to create in TFS different versions of our source code. And it allows us to work on different versions, and then at some point merge the different versions into a complete version, or into a current version, which we can then take and deploy to production. And the nice thing about using branching and merging is that you keep track of the changes of your versions, and it is in the long run, it gives you the flexibility to roll back to a previous version of your application if needed. So let's do that. All right, so I'm quickly going to open up Visual Studio. And then I'm going to open up Theme Explorer, click on my Source Control Explorer. So let me just quickly explain the scenario. So the application has been developed completely. The users have tested the application, and they're happy with the application. So now it has to go to production. Now there are many ways to deploy the application to production. This video is just going to cover how to manage the different versions of your repository. All right, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to go and create an additional folder for your production releases. So I'm going to call this production, and then I'm going to go to my main folder, and I'm going to convert this to my main branch. Now, the other term that people use to refer to the main branch is normally the trunk, but just for this demo, we are going to call it the root branch. All right, so you can add anything that you want into that description, especially if you have multiple different versions of your application. Then you would probably want to start using intuitive descriptions. But for this demo, we're going to keep it plain and simple. All right, so we now have a main branch, and at this point, we want to create a production release of the application. So I'm going to go and select branch, and I will choose the production folder and name the new branch version 1. Right, and essentially that is all you have to do in order to create your main branch. Well, your main branch and then also your production releases. So if we navigate down the hierarchy, you can see there's version 1, and it has, well, it's an exact copy of your main branch. So I'm just going to check in all my changes. All right, so now let's say, for instance, the users are happy with the application and they are recommending now additional enhancements to the application. So what we want to do is we want to start developing on those enhancements, but we don't want to go and do any development in the main branch anymore, just because it is the main branch and it should always reflect the current state of what is in production. So what we will do now is we will go and create another folder and we'll call this development. And at this point, because we have a main branch and we also have a production version, we can either create a branch from the main branch, or we can create a branch from our production branch. But for this demo, we'll choose the main branch. So I'm going to go and create another branch, and I will select development, and I'm going to call this phase 2. All right, so now we have a repository that is branching quite a few times. And in order to get a graphical view of what's happening or how everything is now evolving, you can go and right-click on your main branch, go to branching and merging, and view the hierarchy. So here you can see that you have a main branch, you have phase 2, you have a version 1, and the version 1 is in the production folder. Very, very intuitive. Okay, so that's just a nice graphical view of how your repository is branching out. You can right-click on any of these nodes, and you can either merge or branch that particular version of your hierarchy. All right. Now, let's continue with the scenario. So we have now a phase 2 that has just started development, and for some reason, one of the users in production have now raised an issue with the application that is currently in production. Now, the problem is that you don't want to go and code with this version now directly, so you want to make a copy of that version so that you can have a look at the fix. The important thing here is that you have the flexibility now to work on different versions of your application at the same time, which if you only had one version, you would have struggled now to kind of isolate your development enhancements with production issues. And as you can see, is that you have this flexibility to be quite agile in supporting your application users, but also at the same time be able to work on additional enhancements for your customers. So let's go and have a look how we should fix the production issue. So we're going to go now and right click on version 1, and But before we do that, we want to go and create the folder, and let's call it fixes. Now I'm going to go right click on version 1 and branch again. And let's call this issue 1. Now, the important thing here to notice is that just because you have a main branch doesn't mean that main branch is the only branch where you can branch from. As you can see, I have now just created a branch from version 1 of my production release, and I'm now able to go and work on the functionality that is in that version 1 source code. Just quickly going to do another check-in. All right, so now I want to go and fix my production issue. So I'm going to go and open up my project. And once my project have loaded, I can now go and attend to that particular fix. So I'm going to go and change this label here, and I have to name it version 1. Right, I'll send it through the testing cycle and ask users to give me some feedback. But now the important thing here is that at any point in time, I can now see, okay, well, I have made now a change to my source to my source code. That's why I have the checked out icon, and I can go and compare this particular version of my application with my main branch or with any other version. So if I go and do a compare, I can select any of my branches. I want to check my main branch. Okay, I don't have any changes, but let me just quickly check in my code. Okay, that's done. Now let me try to do another compare. Right, and now I can see that I have a change inside my my fix version, and if I go and look at the change, okay, so I have to double click it. Okay, but they essentially is telling me that my version 1, well, my issue 1 has this change, right? And in my main folder or my main version, this is the functionality or the state of that file. So of course I want to merge now with my main branch. So I can now go and close this compare folder, and I can go to issue 1, select merge, and then choose the version I want to merge with. So I want to merge with main. Right, so now my main branch is up to date. It has the current version. Okay, so it's just telling me there's a conflict, so I want to go and using my merge tool. I want to go and select what I want to, which change or which version of the file I want to accept. I want to accept this one, and I will accept merge. All right, and now my issue one is of the same state as my current or as my main branch. And here the icons have changed slightly. So all it means is that I have changes which haven't been checked in yet. So I'll do the check-in now. So I can either just do check-in from this this level, and I will say apply fix one. Okay, now my fix has been applied, and now I can take this version of my application and I can branch again. Now this is totally preference. I mean, what you can do now is you can actually merge your fix into version 1, or what you can do is you can create another branch. And my preference is always to create another branch. So I'll call this version 1.1, right? And the reason why I'm doing that is it gives me the ability to roll back to any state of my my releases, which is quite important because you don't know if the fix that you are now submitting is actually creating a bigger problem down the line. So if you kind of keep track and audit and create your different versions of all production releases, you are just going to have so much more control of when to roll back and when to or how to manage your different application versions. So this is my tutorial. I hope it was useful to you, and yeah, please let me know if you find this tutorial useful. Thank you.